first started collecting plastic toy Army men officially as an adult back in 2018, the first company I think I gravitated towards was BMC Toys. And that's no surprise. When I was younger, I used to spend hours upon hours scrolling through Amazon and eBay looking at all of the cool toy Army Men products that they sold. Now, I wasn't able to buy any of these products, though, mostly because I lived in a real rural area, and of course, as many of you guys know, it's hard to buy stuff on the internet when you don't have very much money. But nonetheless, when I started collecting again in 2018, I jumped in headfirst with BMC Toys, and it wasn't just to get their Timmy reproductions or even their Marks reproductions, but also a lot of the really cool figures that they brewed in-house. And one of the sets that I remember really wanting when I was younger was the Iwo Jima Marines in Japanese. So we talked about the Japanese soldiers, but on top of that, the Marines are also a very nice set that I highly recommend. One thing about that set, though, is that those molds are based off of King and Country miniatures, which are metal, high-quality painted miniatures. Another set that I really wanted growing up was the BMC D-Day set that came with Germans, British soldiers, and Americans. Something fell behind me. I really wanted that playset so bad, and I haven't bought the playset yet, mostly because I don't have a lot of room for playsets, as you guys can see, but I did get the figures themselves, so you can buy those separately. And today, we're going to be taking a look at those figures, and we're also going to talk about why a lot of people really don't like this set. I asked my Discord how they felt about this set, and I had a lot of overwhelmingly negative responses. And, yeah, some of it is valid, I'm going to be honest. But let's talk about why that is. So, how come the BMC D-Day set is so controversial?
Oh, despite being an avid fan of BMC Toys, I realized that I actually don't know a whole lot about how they operate or their history. Thankfully, their website has a whole page dedicated to how they were founded. Best Made Classics was founded in the early 90s by a man named Bill McMaster, who gained his experience in not only the business world, but also the toy world by working as a purchasing agent for Toys R Us. He set out to create playsets and figures reminiscent of the ones he grew up with in the 50s and the 60s. So he opened up shop in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where BMC still operates to this day. Bill unfortunately passed in 2014, but the business is still going strong with an overall goal of working with smaller toy manufacturers to create and sell figures. The current president is a man named Jeff Imel, who runs not only BMC Toys, but also their shop, Victory Buy, that sells everything from the homebrewed Army men of their own design, the reproductions of classic figures by Marks, NPC, and of course Tim E. Now, it's important for me to note that I love BMC Toys. I've been buying from them ever since I started collecting back in 2018, and I'm so thankful we have a company that not only is producing classic figures just as they were made in their time, but also respects its consumers and source material they're working with. Also, I think the vast majority of their original sets are really good. The recent Toy Army women are beautifully sculpted, and their sets surrounding the Civil War and American Revolution are classic. That being said, just like you saw with my Discord, a lot of people have issues with this set. So I want to go ahead and take a look at why that might be and what problems are with these figures. I'm going to be looking at the figures themselves. There are two playsets surrounding D-Day that you can purchase with these figures, but you can also buy them separately for just under $14, which, all things considered, is a great price. I don't think the price of these has changed at all that dramatically in the last several years, which is really good. In this set, you get British soldiers in tan, American GIs in green, and Germans in, of course, gray. The Germans and the Americans have the most love put into them, so let's take a look at the British first since there are only 8 of them. The first issue I have with these, at least for the British, is that we have way too many runners. Out of the 8 figures, 3 of them are running, which in my opinion is too many. I get the idea is that they're running from the Higgins boats and storming the beaches, but we could really have done well with another Bren Gunner or maybe even a Bazooka Man, because a couple of these guys look borderline identical. Included is a bagpiper, which is honestly hilarious, and then one man laying prone with his rifle, which I have to say does not look the best. And then there's this guy who's kneeling, which I actually quite like him. We also get this Bren Gunner, but his Bren looks more like a yardstick with some bits and pieces of cardboard sticking out of it. I think this figure would have been way better if they just copied Matchbox and had him laying prone, or maybe even gave him a Tommy or a Sten gun instead. We finally get Brigadier Lord Lovat, also known as Simon Christopher Joseph Fraser, who led the 1st Service Brigade on Sword Beach. His figure looks nice. Mine does have a deformed Tommy gun, but honestly, I think it would have been great if he was maybe pointing, or maybe even firing his Thompson, or really just anything other than the awkward pose that I make when I'm about to hug my grandmother. As far as it goes, this part of the set is consistently good. I see people complain far more about the Americans and the Germans. Speaking of, going up by 2, the Germans come in 10 different poses, and to be honest, some of my favorite figures in this set come from this part. I actually love this machine gun team. The barrel to the MG42 is really nice and sturdy, which goes for the whole set. The plastic is really solid and good quality, and while BMC brags about no flashing a lot, they earned it. I've yet to see a set of these figures with any flashing whatsoever. This set also comes with the Desert Fox himself, Erwin Rommel, who, at the start of the invasion, had traveled home to Germany for his wife's birthday. This Rommel figure does look pretty good. I kinda wish his base was smaller. I do feel like the big circle is a little unnecessary. You get these 2 guys who are manning a mortar, which is a loose part that you get in this set. I cannot for the life of me find mine, so oops. I think the problems start to emerge here. For starters, the heads to most of these are off. Sometimes they're long and they're oval shaped. When viewing some of these at side profile, it's far more noticeable. I like this guy dropping the mortar shell, but the guy handing them over looks like he's sharing some juicy gossip with that hand on his chest. Don't get me started on the one throwing the potato masher grenade. He looks like his bones are made of jello. The standing rifleman is okay. Again, it feels like his proportions are off. The rifle looks way too small, and his legs look really long. The rifle is also kind of lacking in detail. You also get a battlefield casualty. His rifle is not super detailed, but he's also kind of holding it weird too. It looks more like a BB gun than a Kar 98, and I think they should have just made him without it. Just compare him to the battlefield casualties by Marks and classic toy soldiers. The MP40 guy looks pretty solid though, probably one of my other favorites in this set. Finally we get this guy? I guess he's in the process of getting shot, but like, is he? He looks like me when I'm trying to bust a move at the club after one too many drinks. Also, why does the guy laying down have a rifle, but the guy getting shot does not? If they had done something similar like the Mark's American soldier getting shot, then this would look way better. This guy just looks really awkward. So, here with the Germans, there are some good figures here, but there's also some bad. Finally, we have the Americans with a whopping 13 different figures. Honestly, I gotta give credit to BMC for making 31 unique molds for this set. We never see anything like that these days, and I'm sure designing each one was very costly. I think the Americans are similar to the Germans in the regard that you get some good and some bad. They also suffer from a lot of the same problems I just mentioned. For starters, this rifleman looks like he's holding a BB gun, but for some reason the BAR guy looks really good and fleshed out. You get 2 Americans with special weapons, one with a bazooka and one with a flamethrower, but my problem is that they aren't using them. I don't have a problem with them laying down, and I don't want to seem like I want all of my dudes firing, but these guys are the only guys with heavy weapons in the entire set. And if you get the playsets that these are in, you're going to have multiple takes, but no one to knock them out. Sure, you got the mortar guys, but honestly, I feel like, despite the fact mortars were used by the Allies on the beaches, a bazooka guy would have been a great addition to this set. This second BAR guy, which, why we got 2 of these, but not a single soldier firing a Tommy gun is beyond me, suffers from the same issues as the German rifleman. Long legs and an oval head, which that oval head is also a problem with a good majority of the Germans and the Americans. The proportions aren't like terribly off, but they just don't feel right when compared to the other figures, including figures made by BMC. Now, it is important to note that these were some of their first figures that they ever produce, and that should be taken into account. The machine gun team on the American side features a Maxim. Honestly, the Maxim doesn't get that much love, so I'm all for that. I do think the ammo belt this guy is holding is way too long though. I get that it's so it can reach, but I feel like this will break pretty easily, especially when being tested by children. I don't even know what this guy is doing. I guess he's leaning on a wall or a take maybe, so there you go. The mortar guy looks like he's praying. Don't worry, buddy. I'm also praying for BMC to make more Marks reproductions. You get another battlefield casualty, and yeah. The rifle looks like it's being held awkwardly instead of being dropped, and the head, again, has this weird oval shape. The oval head problem is mostly in the American. The worst figure by far in this whole set is this grenade thrower. He looks like a T-Rex with those arms, and one of my fans said this about him, which, accurate. Finally, you get Teddy Roosevelt Jr., who is a brigadier general who famously led soldiers up Utah Beach while waving his cane around. I like him, and you can definitely use him to point at a map on a wall, but I do wish his face looked a little bit more unique, which that's kind of an issue with a lot of these figures. You can very easily confuse him with any of the other soldiers. Now, do I think you should buy this set? Honestly, yeah. I think for the price, these figures are great quality, and on top of that, I do think there are some good figures in this set that hold up great. It's also important to note that this was one of the first sets BMC ever put out, so they were very much still learning the trade at this point. I think all of their other original sets look great, and I do really wish they'd come back around to D-Day and maybe touch up these poses in the future.
Well, there you guys have it. That's what I think about this set. So, like I said, I still think this is worth picking up. I mean, for just under $14, I think that's still a really good deal for this set. And of course, it's a staple, right? It's one of those staples where if you start collecting Toy Army Men, and of course you're buying from BMC, you're eventually going to get these figures. In fact, most of you probably have this set. So, but nonetheless, despite a lot of the negative comments about it, I still think this is a really good set. I think there's a lot of really good poses in here. I think there's a lot of really good sculpting in here, and the figures themselves, despite some of the more awkward poses, are still really high quality. But nonetheless, what do you think about this set? Go ahead and comment down below, and also go ahead and join the Discord if you haven't already. We talk about a bunch of Army Men related stuff, and I try to be on there just about every day, if not every other day. So if you want to talk to me and other Army Men enthusiasts about Army Men, what else, then go ahead and join that Discord. But I'm the Plastic Commander. That's all for this video. Bye.
Mission accomplished. Well done, men. Pack it up. We're going home.